G'day everyone and welcome to another edition of the Weekend Wrap brought to you by CrowCast. Lots to talk about. It seems like a while ago, but we had our first win of the season, of course, against Hawthorn. So let's crack right into it, shall we? G'day everyone and welcome to the Weekend Wrap for another week, round, 15 or something? I can't keep up. Of course, we're already into round 16, but the last Crows game that we're here to talk about is round 15. And joining me tonight is Macca. How you going, Mac?
Oh, I've been having strange dreams, mate. I even bet the Crows won a game.
Apparently it did happen. It did happen. You weren't dreaming.
It was real. It was
real. It was real. And it was a beautiful win too, 35 points in the end. So lots of talk about Hawthorn being a little bit off their game and coming off a short break, etc. But who cares? Who cares? Because we played pretty well.
We did. They did pretty well all over the ground too.
Yes, we did. We did, really. And we'll talk about it in further detail tonight. We won't keep people too long tonight. Being Father's Day, happy Father's Day to all the fathers who are listening to us tonight and on demand over the next few days. Hope you had a fantastic day. I sure did. What did you get up to, Mac?
Oh, I had a procession of them coming in that started about midday and it finished about dinner time. And it'll be a struggle to get through this show, but we'll get there.
Yeah, well, it'll be fine. No Nikki tonight. She does have some prior family engagements, so that's probably one of the reasons we'll get through it in an hour, Mac.
Nobody to argue with.
Don't forget, we're live on Facebook and YouTube, so get amongst the chat if you're watching us on those two platforms. Of course, you can also hook into our Discord either by joining the Discord server through the Discord app or going to aflcrowcast.com, clicking on live chat, following your instructions there, and you can access the Discord chat and listen to the audio right from the live chat page on our website. Macca. So, we've had some feedback, Mac. That we just carry on too much about the other games. So, we're going to put a stopwatch of 5 minutes on previewing the other games, and that's all we're going to do, so that we don't bore people to death. G'day Vardy and Kempy on chat, and J-Mac. Nice to see you both join us. Right, for Vardy's, this was
Vardy magic.
Well, it was Vardy's complaint, okay. And
it was.
He's one of our dyed-in-the-wool supporters, so we listen when Vardy talks. So let's whiz through this.
Good man.
Let's whiz through this now. Of course, we were the first match of round 15 on Tuesday. Were we? Yeah, Tuesday night, September the 1st. That's last Tuesday. And our first win, 12-11-83 to Hawthorn 7-6-48. Of course, we will talk about that more in a minute. We were part of a double header though, and the second game on that Tuesday night was West Coast Essendon, and West Coast got up 9 goals 660 to Essendon 6-9-45. There, a margin of 15 points. Pretty much as you would expect, Mac. I would have thought that game.
Not much to talk about there.
Nope, not much to talk about at all. The next game was on the Wednesday, and it was Richmond versus the Dockers. Pretty disappointing game, really. I thought Richmond getting up comfortably 8-8-56 to the Dockers 4-5-29, and of course that match, the result of which caused the Richmond boys to go out on a night out to the strip club.
Yeah, they were given a few days off, 3 days off as I understand it, and they really made the most of it, going off to a strip club, getting thrown out of that, getting into a fight, and and breaching all the COVID regulations at the same time. So
bloody stupid.
They've really been billed with 10 weeks suspension, and the club's been billed, but that's what happens.
Never mind. On last Thursday, we had the Swannies 10-7-67 getting up over a very disappointing Melbourne 6-10-46, a margin of 21, and Melbourne I don't know what's wrong. I'd hate to follow Melbourne. I really would hate to follow.
I was going to make that very point, Thane, that I'd hate, my heart actually goes out to Melbourne supporters because we can sort of half relate to it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even when they're at their very, very best and they've got good players in their side, they can absolutely come out and turn out just weak-kneed effort like they did and go under when it's so important to them. So
terrible.
Terrible team.
Couldn't stand it. And another team I couldn't stand is bloody Carlton. Not doing our GWS pick any good at all after being in good nick for most of the game. GWS just turned it on for 5 or 10 minutes and that was the end of it. Getting up 6-12-48 to Carlton 5-9-39 in the end.
Yeah, looking at that game from the point of view of our next game, GWS, they were shocking for 3 quarters, absolutely shocking.
Yep.
They played one,
like it.
and they played, I think, a pretty pathetic side in Carlton, and then they played one good quarter of football and they won it. And I'm really worried that we might beat GWS.
Oh, well, yeah. But that's not a bad thing, though, is it? If we beat GWS, talk me through that.
Well, the problem is we've worked bloody hard all season to get pick 1.
Oh, yeah. And we won't lose pick 1. We beat GWS, and we won't lose pick 1. We won't win our last 3 games.
We've only got a gap of 2 now. We've only got a gap of 2, and if we win, our percentage will improve. Yeah. So we can't afford to win 3 games. We can only win 2.
Yeah, but if we beat the Giants by a point, that'll be the best case scenario, won't it?
My preference would be to lose.
Just to mathematically sew up pick 1? Fair enough. All right, and then on Friday night we had the Lions and Collingwood battling out a fairly lacklustre game. Mate, this game showed me what the grand final is going to be like. It was dewy, it was sweaty, and it was, as a consequence, I don't often agree with Kane Corns, but he came out today and said that it was going to be a low-skill grand final and not a great spectacle. I tend to agree with him because 6-6 to 5-4 in otherwise perfect conditions against between 2 top sides, not a great spectacle.
Well, I hadn't read the papers today. I didn't get a chance to with all the people hanging around and being social and all the rest of it.
How dare they come and celebrate Father's Day with you, mate? How dare they?
But that was good. But having said that, I'm glad you said what you did, and I'm glad he said what he did, because to me, I've been saying all day today, that particular game showed us that the AFL have made a major mistake in the way our game is going to be presented overseas as a spectacle. And as a sport, because when you play on that particular ground, it's a shithouse-looking ground. It looks old and dilapidated anyhow. Yeah. That's the first thing. Whereas you could have looked at a real snazzy when Adelaide Oval, which is if it's one of the very best in the world, if not the best in the world.
And had a lot of use.
And then at night time, as soon as that sun goes under there, the dew comes down there, and you're playing wet weather football, even on a dry day, and it's going to be, as you said,
agreed.
That's what they're going to present in the grand final. It's going to be terrible, and it's an absolutely stupid decision by
Well, I mean, it's a decision based on necessity to a degree, but also a little bit of political correctness as well. It's not only the dew; it's the sweat. They all come they're all dripping with sweat after 5 minutes, and the whole thing is just. It's just like they've had a swim in bloody lubricant or something. Anyway,
and they might have.
Yeah, no, there was a Sydney Stack joke there, but no. So anyway, on Saturday we had the Power getting up over a pretty disappointing North Melbourne, who are our main opponents for pick 1. Port 11-12-78 to North 6-6-42, a margin there of 36 points. Port looked like finishing top now, and looked pretty good, I thought, but. Not invincible, but they look pretty good against a pretty ordinary team.
They'll finish minor premiers, and they're a pretty good team, and they're vulnerable in 2 areas. if you can cut out the big boy up at forward and also get your attack going, because they don't have a tall marking defender down the back. They're a bit short down back. So I think they're vulnerable to the very good teams, but they are a good team.
Yep, agreed. And then today we had St Kilda getting up 11-14-80 to Hawthorn 9-12-66. Hawthorn performing a little bit better, but clearly buggered. And St Kilda probably were looking for a bigger win than that, but I guess a win's a win at this end of the year.
Yeah, just a game.
Yep, and the Geelong-Essendon game was bloody terrible. 17-6-108 to 5-12-42. Geelong easy winners there by 66 points. And the only interest from mine was the fact that JJ got a run.
And look, he wasn't hopeless, but he also he's no star. And the other thing we said about we mentioned, he was in the rugby. I don't know whether he got a tap or not. But
got 6, I think.
We mentioned about being a Melbourne supporter. How would you like to be a Bomber supporter? Every year, the same old story.
Terrible. Gone are the halcyon days of the 80s and 90s for the Bombers. Long way back for that club after their debacle a few years ago. And the game in progress at the moment looks to be pretty tight. West Coast 6-4-40, Bulldogs 5-12-42. West Coast Eagles just got a goal, so 7-4-46 to the Bulldogs 5-12-42. West Coast by 4. 17 and a half minutes in, and we'll check back into that game in a little minute. So, and thanks to afl.com.au. Obviously, given that it was Father's Day, I didn't have time to do graphics, so we're just using their website today. So I hope people don't mind about that. Looking at the ladder, Mac, most teams now on, there's probably half and half, 15 and 14. We'll look at the top 8. We got Port and Geelong, both on 15 games. Port on 48 points, Geelong on 44, along with Brisbane on 44 with the game in hand. Richmond on 42, West Coast 40, and if they get up, they'll get up to 44 and probably go into third place, third or fourth place, something like that. St Kilda on 36, Collingwood still in the 8 despite their form on 34. The Giants hanging in there on 32 with the game in hand. Melbourne out of the 8 on 28 and not looking like it at the moment. Western Bulldogs also on 28. If they can squeak a win there, they will go ahead maybe of the Giants, or it might be tight. Essendon on 26, Carlton on 24, Gold Coast on 22, Freo, Sydney on 20, Hawthorn 16, North on 12, doing their best to snatch number 1 from us, and the Crows with their first win and a healthy percentage boost on 1 win. Macca. So, not much else to say about that. Let's just flick back quickly to the West Coast Bulldogs game. Still 46-42. The remaining games in the round, we got Melbourne v Freo on Monday night. We got us and the Giants on Tuesday night, along with Carlton and Sydney. We got another 5-10 on Tuesday. What's going on with that? And then Wednesday to finish the round, we've got Lions and Suns. Another 5-10.
I really don't understand that 5-10 minutes. I just don't understand it at all.
Oh, it's because they have to fit in the double header. That's the problem. Because you've got the Carlton Sydney game at 7:40.
Yeah,
so
gotcha.
Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning of all of that and look at the Adelaide game. And it was, as I mentioned, Adelaide 12-11-83 to Hawthorn 7-6-48. A margin there in the end of 35 points was pretty good by the Crows. And just short, my early thoughts on that, Mac, was just that it was a good team performance for 4 quarters.
Yeah, it was it. And, you can say that the defence played well, and it did, and the mids played well, and we had the forward flashing in and out of the game. So, as you say, it was a pretty good team effort. It wasn't a total surprise to me because I thought that the 2 games prior to that, if we go back 2 games prior to that game, I thought we showed a half of good football, and then the next week we showed 3 quarters of good football.
Agreed.
And when I looked at Hawthorn and I looked at the number of days rest that we had compared to Hawthorn, I found $3.20 with Sportsbet just too good to resist.
Yes,
and I
yes.
cleaned up very nicely indeed. That's the first footy bet I've had on Adelaide this year.
Yeah, well, I must admit, I thought about doing the same. It was one of those games that just stuck out to me. Hawthorn coming off a short break. We had, as you said, some form, and it bore out that way. Just a reminder, if you want to listen to us via the website and join in on Discord, just go to live chat at the AFLCrowCast.com website, and away you go. There's a few people joining us, obviously. Their kids don't care about the Macca because they're here watching the bloody podcast instead. Let's go and have a look at some. Let's have a look at some match stats for the game. Disposals very much in our favour, 320 to 255, and for one of the few times it was actually a good ploy, in my opinion, that our handballs were up higher than our kicks, because it was quite clear that we'd done enough homework to realise that the only way you get through Hawthorn's rolling zone is to handball your way through it aggressively, and that's what we did.
And we did, and mostly forward handballs as well.
Yes, very much. It was not the usual sort of hot potato stuff. It was decisive and aggressive and trying to make the play, and it was a clear ploy because our kick to handball ratio was far higher than it's been over the last few weeks. So well done to the coaching staff, as well done to the coaching staff for really ramping up. And I will do this next week. I just want to compare next week by video some of the centre setups that we've had over the past month, Mac, and I'm sure you've noticed it. Compared to the setups that we had earlier in the year, it's like chalk. It's like watching a different team. It really is.
It was. There's no doubt about that.
Well, instead of the body up, we're far more dynamic now. We're actually making opponents think about what we're doing, and yes, we do still give away some centre clearances, but it makes our centre clearances far more effective in terms of the outcome, rather than just a kick over your head count as a clearance. It's actually a decisive running clearance from centre bounce, to our advantage, and gives our forwards some sort of a hope. Well,
there's no doubt about that. The guys that went through the midfield did very well in their own way. And I just posed the question in the chat: was Rob O'Brien? Was he the best man on the ground, or was it Matty Crouch the best on the ground? For me, it was one of those two. Yeah. I thought Matt Crouch was a very complete game as a midfielder, because not only did he get the ball in an attacking sense, but he also, his defensive side of his game was the best he's ever put out for the club, in my opinion.
He's looking fitter, and we'll get into some players in a bit more depth shortly, but certainly Matty Crouch is looking a bit fitter as the season wears on. 46 to 35 inside 50s earmarks our dominance in the game. Disposal efficiency was pretty good. Our efficiency inside 50 was very good, 60.9% compared to 37.1%. At stoppage, we won hit-outs fairly comfortably, 30-22, 31 clearances to 28, which included 12 to 8 in the centre, which was where we had most of the dominance. So it was fairly even around stoppage. Contested possession, 128 to 103, which was excellent, considering we had a lot of uncontested possession, as I said, as we were trying to run the ball and spread Hawthorn's little grid zone that they do. 190 to 145 uncontested ball. So it was really good to see that even though our game was much about running the ball aggressively, we still got in the coalface, Mac, and won that statistic pretty good.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think, the interesting thing is that if you'd asked me 3 weeks ago what our game plan was, I couldn't have told you what it is, but there you can see now there is a game plan forming. And if we are realistic about it, in the sense that Nix has not really had a chance at all.
No.
He's come in cold, and he's got lousy assistance. He doesn't have adequate support. But the COVID rules, like in groups of 10, and how can you possibly get a proper system going when you've got to do it in small groups like that? And so the guys that probably done all right to actually get them to starting to look like a football team when you look at the circumstances he's trying to do it under.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the game plan is a pretty simple one as it's evolved during the season. It's basically try and run the ball forward, as you mentioned. Try to be aggressive with ball in hand and with your disposal. And I think given our previous style, Macca, which was very much hold the ball, kick down the line, etc., slow switches, all that sort of stuff, it's probably taken the group a little bit of getting used to. But I think one of the decisive factors is switching Laird into the midfield. I think he's added some aggressive ball movement to that area of the ground, along with the improved form of Matt Crouch. In terms of being that link and that first possession out of stoppage or out of congestion. But it's a very simple game plan. Defensively, you can see that we're still vulnerable. I mean, Hawthorn got us out the back a couple of times, and we do tend to push up a little bit high, probably higher than Nix would want, just in our efforts to run in waves and get that overlap going. But for now, it's probably the best Nix can do given the circumstances.
Well, there is no other way he can do it. I mean, he just has to settle for whatever game plan he can put together that suits what we've got. And I think he's on the right track. And I think that next year, when he's got good assistance, when hopefully that the COVID restrictions are virtually zero, so that they can then actually do proper match practices, etc., at training, and they hopefully the games are spaced out so that they can actually. Because at the moment they don't have proper training sessions.
No, that's right.
So it's everything's been against the guy. So I really won't be judging Nix by this season, and I think that he has got a game plan in mind, which is similar to what you just said, and next year we'll start to see the benefits of that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, he needs support around him. There's no doubt about that. He needs support around him. There's no doubt in my mind that...
lots of support. I mean, better quality assistance would do so that for a start. But, I'm hoping that they get a Balm or somebody like that in. Somebody with a little bit of charisma and a little bit of lots of know-how to help him.
Well, certainly. I mean, yes, Barmy would help, or any sort of decisive direction at that end or assistance in that end would help him. But he needs some quality assistance as well. I mean, we got Godden, who by all reports is okay, but not setting the world on fire. And then we've got Brent Riley and a couple of others that are really just part-time. And
Ben Hart.
And Benny Hart, who we've spoken about ad nauseum, so he will benefit from having that. I just want to switch back quickly, just to report to people that Western Bulldogs actually got up, Macca. They got up by 2 points, 6-13, 49 to West Coast 7-5-47. So well done to the Bulldogs. Eagles fans wouldn't be happy about that, and Kempy isn't either because he just lost a bet.
I'm sorry, Kempy, for saying good on him.
Never mind.
But at least if you do barrack for the Bulldogs, most games you get a decent run for your money.
Yeah, that's right. You do. Look, other stats, marks were exactly even, but an important stat for mine was the marks inside 50, Mac, 14-6, and it wasn't because we were taking towering hangers going forward, it was actually because we were hitting targets, spotting up targets for once. Yeah, good ball usage, yeah. The ball usage was much better. Yeah, absolutely, and also more options. I felt like for a large part of the game we had quite an open forward line. I don't think Hawthorn quite had the legs to cover us up defensively, and so there were opportunities and there was space, and our blokes were willing to run into that space. And our forward line looked as dynamic as it has done all year, with McAdam and Stengel playing particularly well. Providing options, so that was good. Contested marks overall 13-6, which was good. What else? Defensively, tackles, we 42-52 in Hawthorn's favour, but that's probably because we had more of the ball. They did lay more tackles inside 50. And I think that was indicative of the fact that we were trying to be quite aggressive, so there wasn't a lot of congestion in our forward line, Mac. And I think whereas we were able to, Hawthorn were able to lock us down a little bit more than we were in our defensive. In our forward 50. What else? That's about it, really.
One very significant thing about the way we entered the forward line as well, and the way we structured up in the forward line was the little guys had a lot to say up in the forward lines, and Stengel and McAdam, and even Lockie Murphy at times. I thought they gave us a pretty potent forward line.
Yeah, I think that's pretty true. It seemed to me that there were just more options for the Crows than there has been in the past. And the other thing that we were doing, Macca, as I mentioned earlier, we weren't just bombing it in. We seemed to have a little bit more system going forward, and we were trying to spot up targets. And when you actually had a look at where we were having our shots for goal, they were in that 30 to 50 metre range, which means that we were lowering our eyes a little bit more rather than kicking it in really deep. And I think that worked well for us. Himmelberg played quite high for most of the game, and we relied on Fogarty deep, Tex at times also deep, but certainly those spot-ups, sort of 30 to 50 out, was where we were getting most of our results, which is also a little bit of a change.
I would say it's the first time those three have worked in tandem a lot better. They had, the way they were structured and the way they worked it was a lot better than normal. Normally they get in each other's way, but they didn't this time.
Very true, very true. Let's have a look at some stats. Again, courtesy of afl.com.au. Thank you very much to them. Matt Crouch, 32 touches, 8 kicks and 24 handballs. My goodness. But what seemed to be more effective, 5 tackles, 5 clearances. Only gained us to 98 metres, but he very much proved to be the link man, didn't he?
Very much so. Very much so. I say it's the best game he's played for us this year. It probably almost goes right back to when he was our BNF and when he won the BNF, right back to those days.
Yep. Just looked a little bit more dynamic with ball in hand. Didn't seem to be as sluggish. Didn't seem to be as under the pump, I guess you'd say. I don't know. He just looks fitter to me, Mac.
Well, he was sharper, is really the word you're looking for. He's a lot sharper with it and more decisive with everything he did, rather than just sort of rambling around looking for something at random. He knew what he was going to do, and I thought he did it well. Yeah,
I think that's very true. Look, he had what do you have? 1 inside 50. He had 3 centre clearances. He had 10 score involvements, which is what I like to see. If you have a look at his season average in terms of score involvements, his usual score involvement is 3.8 average for the season, and he had 10 for this match, which is exactly what you want, Mac.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So 11 contested possessions, 21 uncontested possessions. So quite a good game from Mr. Crouch. Brad, his brother. I think of Brad's game.
I thought he was pretty dynamic. Pretty dynamic, I thought.
27 touches, 13 kicks, 14 handballs, which is good for Brad. He can get a bit handball happy at times. 4 tackles, 8 clearances, which is excellent. 432 metres gained, which is excellent from Brad. Only had 72% time on ground, which you'd expect coming back from an injury. He had 4 inside 50s, 5 centre clearances, 5 score involvements, and 12 contested possessions. So, look, the only thing that I would say with regards to Brad is that I felt that he did burn it a little bit. Only went at 55.6.
He never had a high percentage in his efficiency, but sometimes out of those inefficient kicks that scores do result because they're so bad that nobody can anticipate where they're going to. But
55%, you want him to be higher than that, mate. You want him to be upper in the higher 60s at the very least. I think even that is higher than his average, isn't it? 55. Let's have a look at his season average. Season average 61.9, so 62. So a little bit down.
Sorry,
I've
been too kind to him.
Yeah,
but I do like the way that he dashed out of the centre at times. It just sort of gives you that idea of real momentum coming out of there. And he wouldn't have done his trade value. I'm not going to say his trade value, but his compensation value any harm, would he?
Well, no. And if you're to believe the reports, he's pretty much signed on the dotted line somewhere. I don't know. I reckon the team that we played might be very keen on him, to be honest with you. Rory Laird, 25 posies, 8 and 17. So, again, a little bit handball happy from Rory. 1 mark, 3 tackles, 2 clearances, 304 metres gained. I didn't mind Lairdy's game. He had 6 inside 50s, 6 score involvements, and went at 72% disposal efficiency with 9 contested possessions. So played quite outside by his own standards, but I thought he did quite well.
Well, it's been a good move putting him in there. But the only criticism I had of his game there about 2 or 3 times when he was in trouble and he had no hesitation in giving it to somebody else in trouble. He did that 2 or 3 times in the game. But apart from that, his game was pretty good.
Yeah, it does that a bit, Lairdy, but I think he's
transfers a problem fee.
yeah, makes it. Thanks, Dwayne. Makes it somebody else's problem. But look, I just think he's made a bit of a difference since he's been in the middle, and I hope they persist with that, because I think with a little bit more coordination with that midfield group and a couple of additions, I think he could turn into an integral part, and he's more value to us in there than he is kicking skyballs off halfback, don't you reckon?
Yeah, well, when you've got a midfield, when you're passing through with both Crouches and with Sloan, people like and Laird, people like Schonberg, well, all of a sudden, it makes their game a lot easier too, and also sets a very good example. But Schonberg is actually looking quite mature in there at the moment.
Oh, Schonberg's excellent, no doubt about it, mate. He's got a lot to offer, Harry Schonberg, and we'll talk about him some more in a sec. Apologies to those watching. I'm currently frozen on the screen because something's happened to my camera. Anyway, never mind. Benny Keys, another solid, consistent game, 22 posies, 9 kicks, 13 handballs. He had the 2 tackles, the 3 clearances, gave us 214 metres gained. Pardon me. 4 inside 50s, 9 score involvements, and 8 contested possessions. He just keeps rolling on, Ben Keys, and he's another one who I think has been a really solid addition, and probably a bit surprising in terms of being an addition in our midfield rotations, but certainly a good pickup for the Crows.
Been a great get, actually, a really great get, because even when others weren't going in hard for the ball, early in the piece, he was, and I thought he set a very good standard that others should strive to achieve. He risked his own body lots of times, and he goes, as I said, he's a bit of a tagger, and he doesn't do a bad job of that. He shut down some good players, but he's also a tagger that gets a ball. That's what I like about him. And as I said, not frightened to take on physicality in the process.
Agreed, Macca. Agreed. I just think, when you think about the fact that he's come from a program that was very strong in the midfield, very strong, that it just shows that a little bit of perseverance. So it's not dissimilar, I don't think, to a Jared Lyons going to another club after having been, part of a very strong midfield when Danger and Sloaney and that were on song with our midfield, and Jared just couldn't break in. I think Benny Keys is probably a similar proposition, to be honest.
Yep, I agree with you.
Yep. Right, who we got now? Brodie Smith, 22 touches, 13 and 9, gained us 500 metres. I thought Brodie tried quite hard, but what I would say about Brodie is that even though his disposal efficiency was up around 77. I just didn't feel like he used the ball terribly well. Maybe that was just an incorrect observation on my behalf.
Yeah, well, I thought he had a reasonable game. He gets a pass anyhow.
Yeah, look, I mean, he did a lot of things right. 4 inside 50s, 9 score involvements, 5 contested possessions. I do like him off half-back. I don't think he's anything but a running half-back, Macca. And I felt that he played his role pretty well. So I guess that's all you can ask. We talked last week in our epic Gabfest about, I did anyway, about trading him. But, we probably need that experience off half-back, so whatever.
We won't be trading him.
Whatever. Best on ground for me, Rolly O'Brien. 19 disposals, 11-8. Had 8 marks, 2 tackles, 26 hit-outs. Gained us 320 metres, the big ruckman. Also had... what am I doing here? 5 contested marks. His contested marking, Macca, is really improving in my opinion. 4 inside 50s. He has 7 score involvements. 6 intercepts, 12 contested possessions. Just a very, very good game from the big man.
Well, he's a contesting beast, isn't he?
He is.
It doesn't matter whether the ball's in the air or on the ground. I mean, he goes 100%. And look, I will agree with those who say he was best on ground. I'll also agree with those who say Matt Crouch was best on ground because they were both excellent games in their own right. And it's just how do you value each of them? And nobody's right or wrong in that case. If you say it's going to be O'Brien, you're correct. And because I thought he couldn't have done much better than he did. He was good.
I agree. Look, of the rest, I thought Sloaney was serviceable. A lot of people said in places like Big Footy that Sloaney had a bad game. I thought Sloaney played all right. 18 touches, 8 and 10, 5 clearances. I feel like Rory's just working back into a little bit of form. I think he might be carrying something, but I didn't think it was a bad game from Sloaney.
No, I thought I describe it as a youthful game. It was youthful. And I reckon you're right. I think he's definitely carrying something and has been carrying something all season because he just doesn't have that sharpness about him that he normally has. But having said that, he never lacks courage and he never lacks effort. And I thought, he was youthful.
Yep. Again, he doesn't stop trying ever. Himmelberg continues to improve, and I felt, whilst he's still not clunking a lot of marks, he only took 4 for the game, I just feel like he's starting to show us his value at ground level, Macca. 16 posies, 7 and 9, took 4 marks as I mentioned, 4 hit-outs in the ruck, gained us 237. But the thing I liked about Himmelberg was his ability to dish off at ground level. He had 5 score involvements, 8 contested possessions. Look, at this stage, he's showing something. And if he can work on his upper body strength and his marking technique, he'll be an asset. Well,
you and I will have to eat our words because we did say probably about halfway through the season. He's gone. He won't be here next year.
Well, I mean, Nick and Mrs. Himmelberg, a.k.a. Nicky, and I, and Peter J. when he was on as well, we've been on Himmelberg's bandwagon for about 2 years, and it was basically the moment I jumped off that he had a little breakout game. It was the moment I jumped off. Because he has shown a lot of promise, and it's only been in the last probably 12 months that he's really started to have difficulty overhead, and I'm not sure why that is. And it just needs someone like a Duck Carey or someone like that just to come down and show him how to mark. And I hope they really do focus on his marking technique, because if he starts taking some marks, given his skill at ground level and his overall awareness, he doesn't get flustered in tight, and he's good, as I said, below his knees. He's a one-touch player below his knees, and he does give some really deft little touches. If they can get him to mark the ball, he'll be a real asset, in my opinion.
Yeah, he'll definitely be there next year. I mean,
No doubt.
I'd written him off as a departure halfway through the season, but
Yeah.
but his last half of the season has been really good, and as you say, he's showing a lot. Both not, he's almost marking them in the air. Sometimes he has marked them, and he's been quite handy as a relief ruckman. And as you say, at ground level, he performs well for a big guy, and also what's around him. So with the score involvements, etc. So he's a definite keeper, and. Somebody said he's learning from Ben Hart. I don't think so. But no, definite keeper.
Yep. Someone saying in the chat that Frampton played well in the scratch match against Port. Big step up. The thing that worries me about Frampton is just his lack of pace. Himmelberg's not a sprint king, but Billy's probably more aggressive, but lacks a bit of polish and is probably a touch slower than Elliott. So, good backup if nothing else. I still don't understand why we got Billy on a 3-year deal. But anyway, moving on. D-Mac. Now, D-Mac's an interesting one, isn't he? Because he got his usual 15 touches, 9 and 6, 5 marks, 383 metres gained. But I thought his contribution was excellent. 3 inside 50s, 4 intercepts, 80% disposal efficiency. You can say what you like about David McKay, but he keeps cracking in, and I thought he was, it was a very good performance by David, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the club do with him.
Well, exactly. When I was watching the game, and I said to my missus, this poor bastard's been a whipping boy for umpteen years, and at the moment he's probably playing as good of a football as he's ever played in his career at age 34. And I think he's 34. And it's an interesting what they're going to do with him, because seriously, I thought he's played very well the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I thought he played really well this last week. And but the problem is the position he plays is where we've got about 3 young blokes trying to get that spot. So
that's the thing. And he doesn't strike me as one of those mature age players who will teach. I don't know. He's a lovely bloke. We all know that because we've spoken to him on this cast, and
top guy.
Presents himself very well, and always in good condition, and tries his guts out. But I don't think he's a teacher, so I don't know what he's got to offer blokes like Lockie Scholl and Will Hamill and those lads off half back. But probably, Nicky said last week, maybe a good captain for the SANFL team. It wouldn't be the worst thing. A little bit of backup, maybe. Yeah. Now, what do you think of Chase's game? 13 touches, 5 and 8, 2 marks, kicked a couple of goals too, 109 metres gained. I'm not willing to let Chase off the hook too much here. 2 inside 50s, 3 score involvements, 6 contested possessions. Give me your honest opinion of Chase's game.
I think, well, to be honest, I thought it's the best game he's played for some time, yet it's not an outstanding game. So, but there are signs that he will develop a good game. And I suppose what I'd say is I was encouraged, not totally convinced, but I was encouraged to think that maybe we haven't made a mistake and he'll end up as a good player. That there are little bits and pieces about him that now and again he'll lay out this frantic tackle. Now and again he'll burst, and now and again he'll put a nice pass in. So I think there's bits and pieces of the package, and he has just got to get all that together. And maybe he's just to be a slow developer. And I don't know that he's ever going to be a top liner, but I think he's going to be a lot better than what we're seeing, because he has got the weapons there. It's just a matter of putting them all together.
One concern that I had about Chase's game, and I spoke this with Cam this afternoon, and he didn't see it, so maybe I'm just being a little bit too harsh. And we know that he doesn't mind cracking in, but I noticed a couple of times when he was first to the ball or going to be first to the ball, and he was a bit open in terms of physically open, if you know what I mean, that he was a little bit aware of contact. I wouldn't say he was playing scared Macca, but I felt like he was a little bit tentative in those situations where he had to go down to get the ball, leaving himself physically open for contact. Do you know what I mean?
I understand what you mean. I don't know that I actually saw that. And it might well be it was there, but I put it down to slower reactions rather than not wanting to go there. Because I have seen him go into some pretty spots I don't really want to go to.
Yeah, well, that's it. And not for one moment do I think that he was playing scared or anything like that. Not at all. But I just felt like, and I might, if I've, got nothing else to do, I might go back and have another look. But I could have been saying things. But the only reason I say it is because it jumped out at me a couple of times. I thought, oh, that's unusual, like for him to do that. And it was only a little glance up or a little turn or a little hesitation. But I just wonder whether he's copped a couple of hits and maybe is a little bit sore, and perhaps just needs to, we all know that he needs to build up his body strength. That's no doubt about that, no question at all. But yeah, I don't know, Mac. It's just something, as I said, that just jumped out at me.
Yeah, but one thing I do have to say, and I know we've said it many, many times before, that particular draft, when I look at, we've got Chase and we've got Buddy McHenry, who's knee-high to a grasshopper, and then I watched the Port game, and this time Butters is always was the third one, the distant third one, dominating the game, and I just think, geez, how long did we get it?
Yeah, stinker. Look, Lockie Murphy, 13 and 9. 9 and 4 for 13. We know what we're going to get from Murphy. We're going to get a good, solid effort. I thought he played a little bit higher than he has done in the past, more up around the rings.
Yeah, and even in defence at times.
Yes, had 3 inside 50s and 7 score involvements, Mac. You can't knock that from Lockie Murphy. I'm still not quite sure what role he plays going forward, but he certainly put in a good effort. It was probably more effective with the touches that he had than I would say he's been in past matches. Overall, I don't think he's been that bad this year. No.
But this is probably, it's probably the way he played the way he's played most games, but probably just slightly better.
Yeah. G'day to Jad on YouTube chat. Thanks for joining us, mate. Yeah, look, it's always just been a little bit of a quandary to me where Lockie Murphy fits. And to be perfectly honest with you, I almost see him as a defensive option, like a deep defensive option. If something happens to Luke Brown, and we've said a couple of times that we think Brown might be playing a little bit injured if... he probably doesn't have the right height, but he does compete well in the air, and I don't know, maybe he's a back pocket option or something. Speaking of small blokes, Sengu I thought was really good. Had 12 posies, 4 marks, kicked. How many goals did he kick? Kicked a couple of goals, didn't he? One goal, 2. He kicked. No, 1 goal, 2 he got in the end.
Oh, well, probably should have got 2.
Should have got 2. He missed that first one.
But he also did help get a couple more goals as well in terms of score involvement. So I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, 8 score involvements he had for the game, which is excellent. 3 contested possessions. He's looking fit, and he's looking nippy, and he looks like he knows where the goals are by and large, and he's enough of a worry for opposition teams to have to put some work into him up forward. So, and that's all you want from your small forward. Harry Schomburg again showed us glimpses of the future Brownlow medalist that he's going to be. There you go. I'm putting my house on the line with Harry Schomburg. Okay. If he has a season where he averages 25 posies, Harry Schomburg, he will win a Brownlow medal by a street. No doubt about it in my mind.
Well, that's a big statement. I hope you're right.
No doubt. I obviously Cam was here this afternoon, and I made the same statement to him, and he nearly fell off my new lounge. But
he's got a brilliant temperament for a lad of his age. Absolutely brilliant temperament.
I love the fact that he wasn't taking any shit from any of the Hawthorn players, even though he's a kid.
I'm getting that, yeah.
Obviously benefiting from the fact that he's played against men in the Riverland or wherever that was in the country leagues. But there's a bit of Darren Jarman about Harry Schoenberg, in my opinion. He's got time. He uses the ball really well. He's got great football IQ. If he builds a tank, Macca, if he builds a tank the way that D. Jarman was able to build a tank under Neil Craig when he came back from Hawthorn, and has an impact, and as I said, if he starts averaging over 20-25 touches a game, the way he uses the ball, he will be a Brownlow medalist. Five scoring involvements, 81.8% disposal efficiency, Macca. 6 contested possessions. Good. He is a beauty, Harry Schoenberg. Lockie Scholl played all right. His kicking is going to be a feature of his game going forward. He's obviously fantastic off both sides, and I thought he played pretty well. Shane McAdam gave us another highlight. Kicked the goal, missed a sitter. He's another one. When you have a look at where he came from in that whole pick swap scenario with McGovern, I reckon would be miles in front at the moment.
Absolutely, and you wait till next year when this guy got another good pre-season behind him, and and hopefully a proper team pre-season behind him. He can do some outstanding things for a guy his size.
Well, he's a typical McAdam, isn't he? I mean, they're mercurial McAdams. It doesn't matter who they are. I reckon Mrs. McAdam could come out and take a hanger and
take a spicky over the top.
Just in the bloody jeans with the McAdam, but he's great to watch, and he's getting the pace of the game now. There's a little bit of a concern about his durability, so hopefully another pre-season under his belt and maybe a bit of work in the strength and conditioning department will assist him, but he's fun to watch. What do you think of Fogarty? I thought he was quiet again. Only the 9 touches, 3 and 6. I've said enough about Darcy.
But I thought he was intimidated. He was a little bit intimidating as well down there. So I thought that the Himmelberg, Walker, Fogarty trio, I thought it functioned as good as it has functioned. It's definitely not the ideal setup, but I think it's as good as it did. It did function as good as it can.
Yeah, I think there was enough spacing between Darcy and Tex to make it work.
Darcy had that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, 8 contested positives for Darcy and 5 score involvement, so that's not bad. I think Fogg's got some work to do over the off season, and it's going to be a measure of his commitment and character as to how much work he does in the off season. He's trimmed down a bit. I think he needs to trim down some more.
You've got to trim down a lot. No, a lot, Fiend. You've got to trim down a lot. Because he had one burst in the midfield and did not look out of place for one moment when he was there. And I still go, I can see if you could get him to have the stamina of a midfielder, he'd make a very good midfielder.
I mean, I get it. I do get it. But do you honestly think that he's going to build that sort of a tank?
Up to him. I wouldn't. I don't know whether he will or not, because I don't know whether he's got that desire in him or not. And but if he wanted to be, he could be a frightening midfielder.
Yeah, Patrick in the YouTube chat asked whether Fogg, McDonald, and Himmelberg could work. Interesting, if you play Fogarty as a high half forward or as a lead up forward with McDonald sitting in behind, and you're playing Himmelberg up the ground a bit, I think it could work. I don't know. I reckon one thing, if we do get Logan McDonald in through this year's draft period, it's going to put a hell of a lot of pressure on Fogarty, because they're not dissimilar. Logan McDonald is not a big towering tall like Ryan Tilthorpe. He's more of a bustling leading forward. So not dissimilar in the way that they play. Interesting.
Well, I actually did a bit of research this week because last week we were talking about what draft picks, etc. And you convinced me about McDonald.
You liked him?
Ronald. Yeah, I do. I do like him, and I think he probably is the right man to take. And also the other guy you were talking about for the mids.
Nathan O'Driscoll?
No, not that one. No,
the young lad from Woodville West Torrens, Poulter?
No. The one is the obvious one.
Elijah Hollands.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
They'd be the two. No, sorry, you didn't. You came up with McDonald, and
yeah.
No, I'd have. I think that it's only my thoughts, and I don't know what the club thinks, but I think the Western Australian boys are what I'd be taking, and plus Holland.
Yeah, I mean that's a discussion for another time. I think Logan McDonald is a dead set cert. I don't think there's any way. Yeah, I don't think you miss him. But it will put pressure on Fogarty. No doubt about it in my mind. It'll put pressure on Fog because they're not dissimilar, are they, Mac, in the way they play?
No, I accept that. But I still think, and I know that a lot of people doubt it, and understand why they doubt it, because when you see Fog out there, he hasn't got the running capacity of a midfielder by a long, long chalk. But Jesus, he's carrying so much muscle and so much weight that he need not be carrying to be out there. He'd be much more dangerous with a lot less weight on him.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, he's quite, he could be a Rashudo Fogarty if he ran through the midfield. But I
honestly, that's how I see him.
The problem for me, Mac, is that I don't see a lad who is I see a lad who is very naturally talented at playing the game of football and has been able to rely on that talent and get away with just using that talent
cruising
for his career. And as I said, it's going to be an indication of his motivation to be a top-line AFL footballer. He's got to make a decision. Does he just want to have an AFL career, or does he want to be, one of the stars of the AFL? Because he's got the natural ability to be a star of the AFL. But we all know that it's not always the most talented that end up being the stars of the game. It's often the most committed. So it'll be up to Darcy, in my view.
It'll always be the most committed. Always.
Yeah. Who else have we got? Look, I think that's it. The two down the bottom there were probably the disappointing ones for mine. Jake Kelly had a mare, and Miles Boholke similarly didn't have any impact on the game.
No.
And I think, to be honest, given our discussions last week, and just for those listening, if you did miss the list management show last week, it's pretty long, but I've on YouTube I think I've put some timestamps on there. Certainly there's some Discord problems in the first 45-50 minutes or so, but after that it clears out. It's well worth flicking through that. But Mac Miles, I think, I don't know whether they continue to run him for the end of the year. We've got probably Will Hammer to come back shortly, and I think that might be it for Miles.
No, he's not AFL standing on a long-term basis. He doesn't. Look, what he does okay. He just doesn't do very much at all. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So you can't hold a spot in AFL on that basis. And
no, look, I think he'll be an excellent state league player. Unfortunately, I don't think
top sample player.
Top sample. Hasn't got the turn of speed or the quickness of mind to be able to and it's a shame because I really rated him when he came in, and I think he's got a lot of good tools, but it's the sum of the parts for Miles. He doesn't quite work in any position that you put him in. Jake Kelly's the other one. Has he checked out mentally, Jake Kelly? He's had a stinker the last few weeks.
He certainly has been out of form, hasn't he? And the rumours are that he wants a clearance. Though I think he's still contracted for next year, isn't he? Or is he out of contract, mate?
Jake Kelly. Oh God, I can't remember. I'd have to have a quick look for you, Mac.
Barney Magic's normally the walking librarian out there.
Let me just have a quick look here. No, I think Kelly's still in contract. He's not coming out of contract in 2020. He's when is he coming out? He's coming. He's a restricted free agent next year.
Yep. And if we could get something for him, I'd trade him off this year.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. We've got some good boys to learn their role down back. I mean, Butts, is for example, take Kelly's place.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Duday's not in the team. Duday for mine comes in over Kelly. McPherson can come in over Kelly. Butts can come in over Kelly. There's a lot of options down back. I don't think Jake Kelly gives us enough. And every time he tries to speed the play up, he just turns it over. It's just not the way he plays the game of football. He'd be a good lockdown defender for a team, as long as that's all they want.
Look, he's very dedicated. He's very determined. He tried very hard. He's got a slow brain, and he moves the ball very slowly.
Yep. I think that's right. And Patrick Lyons points out too in the YouTube chat, we've got Ball Ace in next year probably as well. We've got Worrell in the twos. So, there's some kids. As we pointed out last week in the list management chat, Macca, we're not spoiled. We're spoiled for choice down back. You got Fisher Mackesy that's been recruited as a defender as well. So, I think Jake Kelly is part of the past, and I think we need to move forward from him.
Agreed.
Last one, the usual. How'd you find Tex?
Got slightly more the ball, didn't he, than normal?
Yeah.
He
kicked 2 goals.
Certainly got more than the 3. What did he get? About 7 or something?
He got 8 touches, kicked 2 goals.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was handy, but I still stick by my statement. I don't really think that he should be playing next year.
Yeah, 6 score involvements. We all know how creative he is with ball in hand. We saw it again at times. He looked to be kicking the ball from outside 50 a little bit more fluently, or trying to at least. But yeah. On the chat, Sensible Crow reckons that Worrell is homesick now. I want to make this abundantly clear right now. There was a rumour that was put forward on Big Footy about young Worrell. Sensible Crows picked it up, and I can tell you categorically that that's not the case. That's not the case.
I like to hear that, Pete.
The person that put that rumour forward did so in good faith from a source that he trusted, and was absolutely smashed by connections. So what Sensible Crows probably picked that up from that rumour. I think it did the rounds on Twitter for a little while too, from the same source, who was most apologetic. There's no substance to that whatsoever that we know of, and judging by the reaction from when that was posted on Twitter and Big Footy, there doesn't seem to be any substance to it whatsoever.
There's only 3 matches to go for the rest of the year. Would you play Worrell, give him a taste of it this year, or would you wait till next year?
If he's physically ready, I would. I'm not aware of his form in the scratch matches, although how do you tell? Based on those 10-minute fun fests. But look, if he's physically ready for it, I think we've got room to give him a run. We certainly need to be rotating as many kids as we can through. I'd like to see Geordie Butts get another hit out as well. Definitely definitely, Mac. If he's physically ready, I think he should get a run.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get a run. And the reason I'd say that is because one of the reasons we did do very, very well against Hawthorn, apart from the fact that Hawthorn aren't that good, if you have a look at our backline, it was virtually a senior backline, not a junior backline. Lockie Scholl was the only junior in that backline at all.
Yeah.
And as I say, wins are bad for us at the moment in the sense of getting that number one pick. I would be giving those young boys down back an opportunity to show themselves. If we lose the game, so be it. It's not what difference does it make whether you win one game, two games, or three games? No. It's not. It's about next year, not this year.
And this is my concern about playing DMAC. Well, we know exactly what we're going to get from David Mackay, but you would be extremely optimistic to consider David Mackay part of our next premiership team. So
that won't happen.
Of course not. So that's my measure at the moment. If you're playing a bloke who's not who is holding a younger kid out and is not going to be part of our next premiership tilt, then I think he's got to give way. And I think that's David Mackay is the one that stands out to me. I also think that Luke Brown needs a bit of a rest. I don't think Brownie's missed, has he, this year? Maybe one through injury, but I don't think he's playing 100% fit. I'd be giving Lukey Brown a bit of a rest. So there's a couple of opportunities there to bring a young kid like Worrell in for a bit of a taste.
And I really would like to see us in the last 2 or 3 games, and I fear, that Nick's has got the taste of victory up his nose, that he might want, in his mouth or nose, wherever it goes, that he just might want more. But it's.
Look, I think they took. Mac, I think they took a better attitude into a winnable game than they did against North Melbourne. I feel like they had a good balance against Hawthorn, and they came with a plan, albeit a fairly simple one, to run the ball through the Hawthorn zone, because I think they sensed that Hawthorn were vulnerable. And, it's good for the team. I mean, we saw the after-match scenes with those lads and Nixie getting in the middle and getting the Gatorade shower. It's good for the team and good for morale to get a win on the board. But I thought Matthew Nix was pretty measured in his post-match presser, and I don't think he's getting carried away with that. And I think that he would still have his eyes on the bigger picture, and I wouldn't mind betting that we see another debutant against GWS on Tuesday.
I hope so, because if we lose to GWS, I'll start to feel more comfortable about our number one position, because I don't think we'll beat Richmond.
You're very worried about that, aren't you, mate?
Well, I am, because I'm a little bit paranoid, because we've been down there all year. It'd be stupid to win 2 or 3 games at the end of the season and blow it, and we've never had that luxury in the club before. And by choice, you'd rather be winning up to the other end. But if you're not going to win the other end, you might as well win this end.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
And so, from that point of view, there's no joy in just getting 2 or 3 wins and missing out on the first round, the first crack at them.
Yeah.
So that's just my viewpoint on it. And from my point of view, Nixie, you've got your win. Now, just pick a few lads out that you'd like to see more of for next year.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's not tanking, it's just making sure that we have a good look at our lads.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just a reminder to everyone who has joined us or who watches us on demand via YouTube or Facebook or indeed Spreaker. Pardon me. If you want to support the CrowCast, get to patreon.com/AFL CrowCast and get around that. I'll be chucking the stats up again as per usual. And Macca, we said that we weren't going to go over an hour. We're at an hour and 10. So we probably should bid farewell, don't you think?
I think so. We do tell lies, though, Fee.
We have been known to. Look, thanks to everyone who's joined us tonight on the chat. Great to see everyone. It's been a good discussion as usual. We'll be back again next Sunday to review the GWS game and all the other stuff going on. Until then, Macca, happy Father's Day, and thanks for coming along.
Same to you.
And take care, everyone. Enjoy the 30-degree day next week, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Good night, all.